and the baby gotta love me again! Today, we're off to the great before to talk soul, heading back in time with dinosaurs, and stepping into the unknown for Myth of Frozen Tale. I'm Jenny.
I'm Andre, and this is What's Up Disney Plus, where we talk all things Disney Plus.
I'm so excited for our first guest. He has worked on some of Pixar's top movies, including Up, Finding Dory, Ratatouille, The Incredibles, Monsters, Inc., and so much more. Not to mention Soul.
Yes, please welcome Robert Grahamjones. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Robert. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing wonderfully. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here to talk to you both.
So for our viewers who may not know, will you tell us what the responsibilities are of an editor, particularly on an animated film?
An editor on animated film has a couple very important duties. One of them is to cut storyboards. Storyboard is a black and white picture. It's also called an animatic. What we do is we cut them with temporary dialogue, music, and effects to replicate what a film will look like. You want to know that the story is going to work first before you animate. We'll be cutting storyboards for, I would say, 2 years before we start going into the layout phase. The layout phase is where you put the characters in a virtual camera. Once we cut the layout, we turn it over to animation, and the animators animate to that. The whole process can take 3 or 4 years, and it's very complicated and very different than live action editing, but I'm very excited about doing it.
Some people are like, oh, animation is just they draw and it's out. It's like, no.
No.
Clearly, there's a lot that goes on.
And then once the animation is done, then you cut that up as well.
Correct. And
Yeah.
cut it up and put it back together.
I'm sure it's happened, or you've had to cut something that you didn't want to cut, and you had to for the sake of the story or timing.
That happens all the time. As editors, what we try to do is think of the story as a whole and not fall in love with any little part, because there can be some little performance that's outstanding, but if it doesn't play into the overall story, then we can't use it. We want to look at the film like the audience is looking at the film.
That makes a lot of sense. And how did you get started in your career, and did anybody specifically inspire you?
I started out as an apprentice at this animation house. I spent maybe 10 years as an assistant editor in live action, went back into animation. So my career is kind of bounced all over the place, but I've been at Pixar now for 22 years, so I've kind of settled into a groove here.
That's incredible. Yes, Pixar. What is a scene or moment in Soul that you're especially proud of?
There's a scene in Soul, we call it the barbershop scene, and it's the scene where 22 and Joe go to the barbershop to clean up Joe's bad haircut. On the surface, it looks like a pretty simple scene, but there are a lot of characters. It's a pivotal moment in the story where Joe starts to realize maybe he could look at the world in a different way. I feel really proud of the scene, but I also have a lot of gratitude that I got to approach that scene.
Yeah, I love that barbershop scene. It was so good and so authentic as well. Like, I've been to barbershops just like that. That brings me up to another question, because you have movies like Soul and Coco, you have shorts like Bow and Out. We've seen a lot of great diversity on screen at Pixar. Why do you think it's important to have diversity and representation behind the camera to enrich the storytelling?
When thinking about the barbershop has its own rhythms, its own way that people are interacting. We really wanted that scene to feel authentic. As a person of color, a person who's been to barbershops many times, I felt like I could bring something to that scene that other people may not have been able to. You want the storytellers to have empathy and understanding of the situation that the story is trying to tell. So I'm very proud of the barbershop scene.
So I have to ask, you've been with Pixar for over 20 years. Is there any project that stands out for you, and why?
Soul has been such an amazing project for me on so many levels. Part of it is that Soul has a Black protagonist. It's a really exciting story to tell. There are various pieces of the story that really affect me also. So For example, I play trombone. They use some of my trombone playing in the temporary part of the movie. It's just such a crazy thing. So many of my different interests kind of came into play in this movie, not to mention the kind of existential questions that are so profound and open-ended. Everybody seems to have a little different take on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think that's a great thing when people have a different take on a movie, because it's just hitting people in different ways. So
Yeah.
Soul has been just an amazing film to be associated with. I feel really lucky and blessed that I was able to be on it.
Yeah, it's why it's great to have people like you behind the scenes working on projects like this, because like you said, that authenticity shows through.
Yep.
Thank you for talking with us today. Like, this has been so great.
Oh, thank you. It's been wonderful.
Be sure to check out Robert's work in Soul, now streaming on Disney+. One of my favorite animated series on Disney Plus is The Proud Family. Love that show. So I am proud to tell you that we have a special announcement from the Proud Family producers, Bruce W. Smith and Ralph Farquhar.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Bruce Smith.
And I'm Ralph Farquhar, and we're the executive producers of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder.
And we're excited to bring the Proud Family back for original fans and also introduce this family to a whole new generation of fans.
So if you're not familiar with our gang, don't worry about it. We're going to give you a quick 60-second rundown on who's who.
So let's dive right in. Penny Proud, center of all of our stories, 14 years old and loving it.
BB and Cece, Penny's younger twin siblings. They can talk, y'all, but it's all gibberish.
Trudy, Penny's mom, also the owner of her own business, Trudy's Pet Ambulance.
Oscar Proud, Penny Proud's overbearing dad, and he's more overbearing than ever.
Uncle Bobby, Penny's uncle, Oscar's brother, and Sugar Mama's favorite son. Ow.
Sugar Mama, Penny's grandma, Oscar's mother, the truth teller of the family.
Puff, Sugar Mama's dog.
Poppy, Sugar Mama's unwitting boyfriend and the father of Felix.
Felix, La Cienega Boulevard as his dad, and also runs his own construction company.
Sunset, Felix's wife. She and Felix are Oscar and Trudy's best friends, despite the fact that their daughters are frenemies.
La Cienega, forever the frenemy to Penny Proud.
Zoe, Penny's good friend, part of the crew.
And Dejanay is her loyalist friend.
Maya, the new kid on the block, and she's woke, y'all. We're still in the middle of production, but we just wanted to give you guys a sneak peek at all these characters.
We can't wait for you to see what they've been up to on The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, coming to Disney+.
Mark your calendars because we have brand new Disney Plus original series announcements.
It's time to welcome a new generation of game changers. Start streaming The Mighty Ducks Game Changers on March 26th.
This is a shot he can't afford to miss. Big Shot, an original series starring John Stamos, starts streaming April 16th.
On May the 4th, we have Star Wars The Bad Batch, which follows the elite and experimental clones as they find their way in a rapidly changing galaxy in the immediate aftermath of the Clone War.
We think you kinda know where we're going with this. That's right, Season 2 of High School Musical, The Series, starts streaming May 14th.
On June 11th, you can start streaming Loki, an original series from Marvel Studios.
Zen Mode on. Season 2 of Zenimation also starts streaming June 11th.
One mission will hold the answer to the world's greatest riddle. The Mysterious Benedict Society, an original series, starts streaming June 25th.
And in July, it'll take some monster-sized laughs to generate Monstropolis's power. Monsters at Work starts streaming July 2nd.
Partner up with Turner and Hooch, an original series, when it starts streaming July 16th. And don't miss the first episode of Chippendale Park Life on July 23rd.
Hey Andre, have you ever wondered what it would be like to grow up in, I don't know, 60,003 BC?
Believe it or not, I have. Being a mighty megalosaurus would have been magnificent. Tree pushing at its finest. Ha!
We're, of course, talking about dinosaurs.
The series follows the Sinclairs, a family of dinosaurs living in prehistoric Pangea, navigating the ups and downs of domestic dinosaur life. I am so glad that Dinosaurs is on Disney Plus because I grew up with this show, love it so much. Jenny, were you a fan of dinosaurs as well?
Oh my gosh, I grew up watching this show. I actually had a baby Sinclair doll.
Oh! It's a great show. It plays on different layers. Like, there's stuff for kids to enjoy with all the animatronics, which are amazing even to this day.
Well, speaking of, did you know that not one, but 3 performers brought Earl Sinclair to life?
And we are lucky to have Bill Barretta and Stuart Pankin with us here today on What's Up Disney Plus. Welcome to the show, guys.
Bill Barretta's here.
Stuart's on this?
Unbelievable.
How long has it been, truthfully, since you guys have seen each other in person?
Oh my God, it's been 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dinosaurs was so innovative. Can you tell us about the series and what makes it so special?
It was special for a lot of reasons. The costumes, the animatronics, unbelievably complicated and sophisticated, in my opinion.
And a new technology at the time.
As far as the writing is concerned, it was a show that kids could enjoy because of the puppets, and adults could enjoy because of some of the political and social commentary. All that stuff came together to make it a fun-filled romp for the whole family.
You know, it was my first big thing coming to Hollywood. And so I was just fortunate to be working a Henson and a Disney collaboration, and then to be able to collaborate with the other people that are providing the kind of topping third, myself in the suit, Mac Wilson or Dave Goles, who operated the facial manipulation, and then of course Stuart, who brought in the Stuart of it all. It's amazing.
Yeah, and that was so great that all 3 of you came together to create such a character like Earl Sinclair, which is one of my favorite TV dads.
Oh, wow.
What was it like to work on Dinosaurs? Can you walk us through the mechanics that brought Earl to life?
The workshop worked very hard, and they would bring these gigantic suits up to the stage, and every day they would have people who took care of us, who helped us get in and out of these huge suits. I think Earl's body was probably 80 to 90 pounds. Just behind cameras were a row of puppeteers where they had something like a joystick that had all kinds of little levers and buttons. And each one of those were assigned different things they could program for facial features. Once we captured a scene or a take, Stuart would come in, and then he can certainly speak to what that was like, because that couldn't have been easy.
Well, it wasn't like wearing a 90-pound suit. The scene came to us, and we had to match the voices. If the line was, "Come on, Robbie, don't eat that sandwich," you'd hear beeps in your earphone. You'd go, beep, 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 and you'd see, "Come on, Robbie, don't eat that sandwich" on the screen, and you would have to beep, 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 "Come on, Robbie, don't eat that sandwich." And we basically went through the show and replaced the puppeteer's voice and movement.
That is just amazing. I mean, it's one thing to have one performer have to get it right, but to have multiple performers coming together at different times to get it all to look like one solid character, which you did.
That's a good point. I mean, they weren't together. It was separate times.
So how does it feel to have Dinosaurs finally on Disney Plus? And what do you hope the audience takes away from rewatching or discovering the show?
I've been rewatching. I haven't watched these, and I can't even tell you how long it's been. I've been laughing out loud. The editing was great. The writing was great. And I've just been really reliving moments, going, did I actually do that? I don't remember being there. But honestly, I'm so happy it's back. I think families are going to love it just like they did back then. It's a great show, I have to say it.
It is.
People could relate to a lot of those characters, the brother, the sister, the mother, even the tough boss. That's one of the reasons that the show got to people so much.
And just speaking of something I never noticed before, I was just watching the other night. It's the one where they bury Ethel and everybody's faces are leaning in, and Earl comes in and he goes, no, don't wake her up. And Ethel brings up a shovel and whacks him right in the face, and he falls backwards. And when he falls, I accidentally kick Charlene in the face. I never noticed that before, but the people in the ADR room and the people who did the recording, they noticed it. And you can hear Sally Struthers doing Charlene, who says, "Ow, you kicked me."
Dad? Ow.
What? Huh?
Kick me.
They add these little things that you never noticed before. There's always something really fun.
So Bill, you have an awesome YouTube channel. Can you tell us about that?
I share it with my brother, Gene Barretta, who's an author illustrator. He and I started this show about all things Muppet and Henson and Disney. And we did a 30th anniversary episode celebrating Dinosaurs coming to its 30th year. And we had the writers, the producers, the creators, the workshop people. If you go to thebarrettabrothers.com. You can see all of our past episodes. And then we're going to actually have Stuart on. He's going to be joining us in a couple weeks. So please come join us.
This has been such a blast, such talent in the suits, outside of the suits. I can't thank you both enough.
Well,
Thank you guys.
It was
Thank
a
you so
pleasure
much.
for me.
Be sure to check out Dinosaurs, now streaming on Disney Plus. Myth, A Frozen Tale is coming to Disney+. Like Cycles from Disney Animation's Short Circuit, this virtual reality short now has a new streaming version that you can watch on your TV at home.
The short starts off as a traditional bedtime story in Arendelle, but suddenly we are transported to an enchanted and mystical forest where the elemental spirits from Frozen 2 come to life.
Hi, I'm Jeff Gipson, director of Myth, A Frozen Tale.
And I'm Brittney Lee, the production designer.
And we're going to break down a scene for you. So the scene we're going to be watching is the water knock scene, and this is the water horse from Frozen 2. Basically, the film is about the balance of the elements. So when we first start this scene, you'll see that there's flames and fire. So this is the fire spirit, the salamander. The rain starts coming down, this waterfall appears, and then out of the waterfall emerges the water knock that basically balanced out the previous spirit.
For our knock, we really wanted to push the stylization because the knock in Frozen 2 is so fantastic, but we were representing sort of a storybook fairy tale version of it. So we wanted to make that clear and do something that was a little bit different and more stylized. We thought it would be great to combine some CG and 2D effects to really have this sort of tactile, tangible quality to the film. And you can see it here in the water effects.
This horse is scared, it dives into the water, and then we see the power of water, the power of this flood that then comes down, moving towards the viewer. And then we have the earth that begins to balance out this spirit and form this dam, and turns into the day, the rain dissipates, and we really just tried to play off that each one of the spirits is neither good nor bad, they just kind of are, and together they create this harmony where the world can dance.
Yeah, kind of a duality between all of the elements in nature, and the sweet spot is in the balance.
Jeff and Brittney, thank you for being here and for all that insight into Myth, A Frozen Tale. Tell us what inspired the story behind the short.
So the inspiration behind this story was my love of bedtime stories. I just love how they kind of made my imagination wander into these places. And so I started thinking of what was a bedtime story that you might have been told if you grew up in or around Arendelle, and kind of led myself to this world of Myth, A Frozen Tale, where the elemental spirits are the main players.
So this project features both hand-drawn and CG animation. What made you want to combine those two elements, and how did that influence the storytelling process?
Yeah, I mean, I love the heritage of Disney animation, all those 2D films, but in particular Fantasia. That was just such a big inspiration. They tell stories through music and the hand-drawn, and so I wanted to bring that similar vibe into VR, but also just how do we make a real-time short that's flattened on a screen. Having Brittney on board and her kind of stylistic sensibilities was amazing, because I feel like we really achieved something cool.
I'm a huge fan of traditional animation, and we do a lot of work in CG, but because Myth was going to be an even further stylized version of the Frozen world, it seemed like a perfect opportunity to sort of introduce those little elements that we could play with in hand-drawn animation and play into that Fantasia aspect that Jeff was talking about.
The film was originally created in virtual reality, so can you tell us what it was like to use VR in the creation process?
Brittney and I were able to be in the VR headsets as we created these worlds, and we were able to see the world being created basically in real time. It was a really unique process for us at Disney Animation.
Yeah, I'm sure that we looked pretty ridiculous to those outside watching us do this, but for me, I had no experience with VR prior to this project. It was actually such a great learning experience, and being in the middle of the film that you're working on is like nothing else.
How does it feel to have Myth, A Frozen Tale on Disney+, and what do you hope viewers take away from watching this short?
It's amazing to have it on a platform like Disney+, where my family, all my friends at home, they can now watch that film. And I hope that it invokes that sense of heritage of Disney animation, where there's this richness of traditional animation mixed with CG and music. It's just so exciting. I feel so fortunate to have it on Disney+.
Yeah, I agree. We've been living with this for so long and been working on it and been so excited about it that it's just so nice to now be able to share it with everyone, and hopefully people will enjoy it as much as we enjoyed working on it.
You can experience Myth, A Frozen Tale for yourself, now streaming on Disney+. From the Great Before to Pangea, all the way to Arendelle, we certainly covered a lot of territory today, Andre.
Not an easy trip to pack for, but definitely worth the journey. Be sure to head over to Disney Plus to stream all of your favorites.
Not the mama. Not the mama.
We're gonna need another Timmy.